Everyone. As we always do, Mr. Secretary, please call roll, and then we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing because Brother Fugit is going to lead us in prayer there.
Senator Higdon. Here. Senator Kerr. Senator Meredith. Present. Senator Mills. Senator Parrott. Here. Senator Schroeder. Here. Senator Smith. Present. Senator Westerfield. Senator Wilson. Here. Senator Yates. Representative Blanton.
Here.
Representative Bratcher.
Here.
Representative Dossett. Representative Duplessis. Representative Freeland.
Here.
Representative Fugit.
Here.
Representative Gentry. Representative Gooch. Here. Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Cook.
Here.
Representative Lewis. Representative Maddox. Representative Massey. Representative McCool. Representative Minter.
Here.
Representative Sharp.
Present.
Representative Stevenson. Representative Tackett Lafferty. Representative Wesley.
Here.
Representative Wheatley. Senator Embry. Chair Thomas.
Present. Yes. Oh, we'll get you. I tell you what, let's change things up a little bit. And Sir Lee Robertson, why don't you come up to the front table, if some of y'all would help him, and why don't you lead us in the pledge? Would you mind? Come on up to the front table in the center there, and let's all stand and let Mr. Robertson lead us.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day that you give us, a blessing, Lord, to be in this committee this morning and to hear our pledge to our United States of America. Thank you for our veterans and these that are here today. I pray that you'd bless them and bless their family. Lord, there's a lot of needs on our heart today. There's a lot of our friends that are sick. Senator Embry, I pray, Lord, you'd bless him. I pray, Lord, for the family of Wilson Stone, that you'd bless them, Lord, and be with them during this time. And Lord, bless our country and help our military and our first responders, and help us, Lord, to make good decisions that would honor you and honor our people and help our people. I pray, Lord, you'd help us every day to live our life to please you and to help somebody else around us. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Alrighty, I tell you, sir, if you would, why don't you just take a seat right there in that middle chair? Take the seat right there, and that would be great. And if anyone else is sitting by him or something, this is a guest of Representative Minter. All right. That is not taught anymore, so we appreciate that. All righty. Well, the floor is yours, Representative Minter, and I'll let you kind of take it from here. And I believe there's a short video also that we have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And it is the greatest honor to be here today to introduce you to a member of the greatest generation. Lee Robertson is my constituent in the 20th District, and my friend, and for many years, my co-worker at Western Kentucky University. And you all are part of the biggest birthday party that I have ever seen, because last Thursday, on June 16th, Mr. Robertson, who is better known, and in fact, if you said Lee Robertson, people say, is that Mr. Western? So let's get that out of the way. This is Mr. Western. And Mr. Western took the stairs up to the 4th floor today and took them down. So he is not only getting me seated at the table, but he's also outrunning me on every fitness metric that can exist. But that's because he has lived an exemplary life of activity and service and love for his country, his community, and for the university. Then he'll tell you more about his relationship to the university. But I have to tell you that I can't tell you the first time that I met Mr. Western, because it was probably in the first month that I taught there in 1993, because he really is synonymous with every aspect of the university. Lee Robertson worked in alumni affairs and still does, and you literally see him everywhere. It was my honor at his birthday party last week to present him with a legislative citation from this body honoring him on his 100th birthday. And I have to say, I've been to a lot of birthday parties in my life. I've never been to one like this, and it truly was the one where everybody you know was in the room. And I've never felt so much love and so much celebration. But his story as a veteran is a big part of this story and the reason that we are here today. Lee Robertson exemplifies so much of what has made the greatest generation the greatest generation. It is his story to tell, but he'll tell you about his service in the Pacific Theater and how he came to WKU on the GI Bill and how he made it not just a career, but a life. He dedicated his life to the university and has paid it forward by lifting up so many people and so many students over the years. So it's my honor to introduce you to Lee Robertson, and we will show a short video right now that was made for his birthday that gives you a little sense of it, and then the floor will be his. So let's watch the screen.
I like my bronze statue, and I like the ballroom, and I've been honored way yonder beyond my expectations.
Even Lee Robertson is amazed at how his life turned out.
I wasn't a very good high school student, and I wasn't a very good college student, but I managed to get through all of them.
The native of Calhoun, Kentucky says he had no idea what he would do after high school, but it turns out plans were made for him.
6 months later, Pearl Harbor was bombed. 6 months later, I was in the service.
With beachhead landings in New Guinea, Morotai, and the Philippines, Lee recalls his 3 years of service in the U.S. Army with great detail. When his time ended in December of 1945, he finally arrived home on an icy Christmas morning.
There was ice on our porch, and I nearly fell down. I come near getting killed on my front porch than I did in New Guinea.
College was never something Lee thought he could afford. That is, until a friend mentioned the GI Bill. The very next day, the two drove to Bowling Green to sign up. After graduating from Western in 1950, Lee was working as a teacher and coach in Park City when he crossed paths with a former neighbor while living back in Calhoun for his summer job.
And I said, who in the world is that? That little old gal next door, my neighbor, I went down there and checked, and it was Joyce.
After they married in 1953, the couple moved back to Barron County before landing at WKU in 1960, when Lee was named Director of Alumni.
We had one alumni club, that was in Muhlenberg County. 6 years later, we had 52.
He held that position for 25 years, but didn't stay retired long. Dubbed Mr. Western by former President Gary Ransdell,
that's a title I'm really proud of.
He served in numerous roles, including the job he still has to this day in philanthropy and alumni engagement.
Something about the job just fit me.
With this week's View from the Hill, I'm Amy Bingham.
This month's distinguished veteran, Lee Robertson, the floor is yours, sir. Make sure you speak into the mic.
It's a right impressive group. When I heard your roll call, I don't know that I have ever talked with this much of a distinguished group of people. I may panic up here. If I do, I'll run.
You'll be all right.
I am to talk about Western Kentucky University. More than that, I need to talk about the war. Well, most of it you saw on there, I guess, but if you detailed it, and when I graduated from high school, Calhoun High School, in the last of May in 1941, and it was 32 in that class, big high school, and we sat around the day we got our diplomas and talked about what we were going to do, and it's the first time that all of us felt a little bit responsible. And hey, this world's moving on. Am I keeping up? And what am I going to do? And then you leave, and you know you'll never see all those people again. It was kind of a emotional time, but it was the truth. And you know what? This is a little sidebar, but that class of 32, Calhoun High School, 1941, I believe I'm true when I say I'm the only one living. But you can understand that when a guy gets to be 100 years old. And I'm still working, by the way, and Patty and I have talked about that before. I seriously believe in 1985, when I retired after 25 years in alumni affairs and placement services at Western, if I'd have gone home and started twiddling my thumb, I would not be here today. And I choked down. But be all right, Maura.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
The Thursday night, I ran through in 10 minutes my 100 years. And I really had to hit the highlights. But in some kind of electronic system, and I'm not one of them, I cannot turn on a computer. I used to tell them when old Gary Ransdale was the president, and people would say, Lee, you got that computer sitting there on your desk, don't use it. I said, my emails are yellow legal pad, long hand, and they're called Lee mail. And I said, if you'd go in the president's office today, the only thing you can find on his desk is Lee mails. The rest of your stuff is in some kind of a machine. But when I got out of the service, I got to thinking about what I was going to do, and this is a true story. J.C. Bubby Blansett had been decorated in the war. He's my buddy. He's a couple of years younger than I, from Calhoun, and he'd been a fighter pilot. He saw me sitting on my front porch on a Sunday afternoon, about April or May. It's a little warm, and he said, Lee, let's go to college. I said, man, I can't afford to go to college, and I never was a very good student anyway. I don't know that's for me. He said, you ever hear the GI Bill? And I said, no. He said, well, they'll pay for your college and give you about $70 a month to live on. And I said, let's go. So that's the rest of the story. And that was in the fall of '46. I went to Western and fell in love with it immediately, and that love has grown deeper through the years till I'd hate not to be around it. I just feel good about it, and I've changed 2 or 3 jobs. I coached their golf team. I directed the Glasgow campus. I was alumni affairs and placement service, and now they gave me a title. I'm a special assistant to the vice president for philanthropy and alumni engagement. Now, you need a title like that when you get to be 100 years old. I can't spell all those words. But let's start after I graduated from high school and wondered what I was going to do. As you saw on the screen here, the Pearl Harbor was bombed on December the 7th after I graduated in May the 30th of that year. So it wasn't long till I didn't have to worry about what I was going to do, because the next day the draft board, I could talk an hour about draft. How in the world did we get so organized in the United States, the draft board? And first thing you know, I was drafted, put into service, caught a bus out of Calhoun to Evansville, Indiana. Evansville, Indiana, trained to Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indianapolis, inducted, got shots in both arms and both hips, threw some clothes at me. Only thing they ever asked me what size shoe I wore. The rest of it they just tossed to me. Caught a troop train out of Fort Benjamin Harrison for Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and didn't know I was going to be that close to home again, and put me in the Armored Division. Went through basic training. And out of basic training, they said, Lee Robertson, you're a tank driver. And I don't know how they decided that, but that's what I was. And an EM medium tank, EM3A1 Sherman. Left basic training, Tennessee maneuvers, the combat training in Camp Barkley, Texas. Called a troop train to Vancouver Barracks in Washington, and they called a USS Cote Baru, a Dutch ship is changed over to a troop transport. 60 days later, I landed in southern New Guinea. 3 weeks later, I was in combat. Made 3 beachhead landings in New Guinea, established that country, got the places where we wanted to establish the beachheads, Mauritania, the Netherlands, East Indies, more like a tropical island you saw in the movies than anywhere else I was. And we were supposed to really have it tough there. We landed and there wasn't a Japanese on the island. They'd only gone to Halmahera, and I knew I'd been in there long enough to know that it wasn't going to be that tough when General Douglas MacArthur waded ashore ahead of us. I knew. I said, this is the place we need to be. Stayed there about 3 months, and then we had a big convoy to go back to take over Manila again, as MacArthur had promised them. We shall return, and we did. And on January the 9th in 1945, we landed at Lingayen Gulf, and it was a big landing. That's Luzon, the island that Manila was on. Lingayen Gulf was probably 70 miles north of Manila, and there was a national highway down to Manila. So 8 months later, Manila was bombed. They one time called the Pearl of the Orient was a trash bin. When we got through, it was disastrous, and it was terrible for it to be that way. But we were out east of Manila at a place called Batangas, and we were preparing to invade the homeland of Japan, and they dropped the 2 bombs, and shortly thereafter Japan surrendered, and the 44th Tank Battalion called a LST to Japan. And when we went in Tokyo Bay, every few feet it looked to me like 16-inch guns, and I thought, man, we never would have got. We'd have lost more U.S. soldiers trying to invade Japan if there's still a war going on than we lost in the 2 bombs we dropped. But I was there from last of August to the first day of September. And first day of September, I called a aircraft carrier to San Diego, California. The 15th of December we landed. I was there 2 or 3 days in the troop train to Fort Knox. Got to Fort Knox on the 23rd, discharged the 24th, went to the deep to the train depot to catch a bus to Owensboro, Kentucky, 18 miles from Calhoun, my hometown. Ice on the road, so they moved us to the train station, and on the trip on the train from Louisville to Owensboro, there was a little gal that had grown up and was working in Louisville, and she remembered me and knew a little bit about what was happening, and her mom and dad were going to pick her up in Owensboro, so I bummed a ride to Calhoun, and that's when this you showed a while ago. I had my duffel bag, and if it hadn't been for it, I'd have broke my neck, I guess, when I slipped down on my porch. But at 5 a.m., Christmas morning, my brother, Sam, was 101st Airborne. He's 15 months older than I was. He was wounded in the Normandy invasion. He got home 2 weeks before I did, and he was healthy. My sister spent her time making bandages and gathering up scrap iron. The 5 of us, that's a pretty good Christmas morning. So I've talked too long?
No, not at all. Not
Well,
at all.
that gets me through the service, and that was December 45, and then here comes 1946, and again, what am I going to do? And that's when you heard the rest of the story. I went to Western, and I don't know what made Western fit so, but it sure fit, and it still does. And just before I went to Western, Mr. Diddle, the legendary coach, 42 years at Western basketball and half that time baseball, and he'd seen me pitch a baseball game for one of those Sunday league teams, and I was pitching for Morgantown, and we were playing Bowling Green on the Western's diamond, and Mr. Diddle saw me, and I had the best game I'd ever pitched in my life. And he said, Lee, he called me Robbie. He called me Robbie, and he called me a river rat. He thought I was from Morgantown. He said, river rat, and said, won't you come for baseball? And I did. In February, before we started training in March, I was playing a basketball game, and a big guy jumped into my left knee and busted it all up with everything you could do to a knee. And we didn't know how to fix them then. And so I never was as effective, but 3 years I was on the baseball team. And I'd do that again if I didn't get to play, just to be around E.A. Diddle and listen to some of the things that he said. And then you'd step back and say, what in the world did he say? And it was always, he was dumb like a fox. But today, I'm there. I'll go to work tomorrow. I'm now working in that research and fundraising. I go and come as I please. And I've told the president and the vice presidents and other people that at the end of this year, I'm going to analyze and see. I don't want to hang on. I'm productive now because in fundraising is relationships. You people know that, but building relationships, and I know the people. And you saw the other night there was over 500 people that came there to that birthday party they had for me in the new Alumni Center, and they had it in the Lee Robertson Ballroom. And right before you went in the Lee Robertson Ballroom, there's a life-size statue, bronze, of Lee Robertson. So I don't know how I got all these honors, and I've said to everybody that asked me that, I said, I don't know that I deserve it. I still don't, but I appreciate it because it's fun to see and have, and to people to call me Mr. Western, it means a whole lot to me. Listen, folks, I enjoyed being here. I appreciate you listening, and that's a thing I think any speaker will enjoy when he knows people are listening, and you were listening. And I appreciate that, and I'm glad to be here. I love all of you. I wish you well.
Well, Mr. Robertson, we have a few tokens of our appreciation, too. I'm not sure we can compete with the 500 people the other night and honoring banquet halls in your name and stuff, but it's just amazing to hear you rattle off dates when I can't even remember what I did last week, and you're sitting there going 80 years ago telling me when.
Neither can I remember what I did.
Well, you remember what you did in the 40s. That's amazing. So at this time, Patty, I'll let you. We have a presentation from Quilts of Valor, too. And so I don't know whichever way you want to take it. And I think Bud's here to take some pictures also. So
Yes, thank you so much for that. Do you see what I mean? How often can anybody hold 500 people in the palm of their hand? But he did that last week at the birthday party, and it amazes me. The one thing I learned at the birthday party last week is I really did not know Lee Robertson had retired. Now I do, at 1985, but you'd never know it. You would never know it. And Mr. Robertson, distinguished veteran, my friend, it is my honor to present to you the challenge coin. This is something that members of the Veterans Military Affairs and Police Protection Committee can give to distinguished veterans like yourself in honor of the great work that you've done. And it is my deepest honor to give this to you today.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you too. I appreciate you as a representative and as a professor at Western. You've excelled in both of them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have one more. This is Ann Birch, and I will let her introduce herself.
Thank you. I'm Ann Birch. I'm with the Capital City Quilt of Valor group. We've just formed in the last 6 months, but we're honored to present a certificate to Mr. Robertson on behalf of our group. And we also want to wrap you with this quilt, which is made for you.
Well, I've heard of blanket parties, and this is a quilt party. Thank you, man.
If I could tell you just a little bit about the Quilt of Valor Foundation. It began in 2003.
Mary Ann, would you care to try to get that microphone a little closer?
Sure.
Thank
Is
you.
this better? Yeah.
That is, yes, ma'am.
Quilt of Valor Foundation began in 2003 when Catherine Roberts, the mother of a deployed soldier, experienced a dream in which she saw a young soldier alone in the dark, foreboding room, overcome with despair. Then in a subsequent vision, that same soldier was wrapped in a quilt. The room was calm and tranquil, void of the war demons. Catherine determined in that moment that quilts equal comfort and healing. She knew what to do. She gathered friends and family, and they began making quilts for returning soldiers. That was the beginning of what is now the Quilts of Valor Foundation. The first Quilt of Valor was awarded at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Maryland in 2003. From that day until now, the Quilts of Valor Foundation quilters have awarded over 313,000 quilts of valor. A Quilt of Valor is an award, it's not a gift. Quilter of Valor is an expression of gratitude for his or her service to our country, and we hope that it will become a legacy in your family of the sacrifices that you endured during your time in service of our country. It's my privilege and honor to give you this quilt. That's the best present, isn't it?
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for including us.
It is my
I appreciate it, and I'll abide by your wishes.
Thank you, sir. You snuggle up under it and use it.
Yeah.
okay.
100 degrees together today. I
don't know.
I wait till winter to use it.
Exactly.
Sir, hold one more spot. Come on up, and I think we got one more thing or two more things right behind you too. This was a surprise. Didn't know about this until this morning either.
Take this
It's good to see you again.
Yes, let me get that off real quick.
Let me get
Make sure that mic's on if you could. Is the green button on?
that. Is nice looking.
Isn't it?
That'll work.
Good quill, isn't it? Give that to my son. That's my son Steve getting that. He'll get under it when winter comes.
Mr. Western, we spoke when you first came in, and after sitting and listening to you, not only am I humbled to be here to present what I'm going to present to you, but I want to be you when I grow up. And I told him, I said, he's in such amazing shape, and I'm much better than I am, and I'm only 22, so he's but on behalf of the Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs, on behalf of Commissioner Whitney Allen and every veteran in this Commonwealth, it's a true pleasure to present you first a certificate, and I just want to read a caption here. It's in recognition of your centennial milestone and being a member of the greatest generation. The Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs presents this certificate as a token of our appreciation and respect. Thank you so much for your service. We appreciate it, and
Thank you
a
for
pleasure.
this. That's mighty nice.
And we
I'll
want-
say that again, like I've said before. I don't know that I earned it, but I appreciate it.
You absolutely earned it, sir. And on behalf of Governor Beshear, there's a challenge coin, and I know that he would have loved to have been here, but that's in thanks for the service to this Commonwealth and this great nation as well.
Thank you very much.
Now, I've been at a lot of challenge coins presentations, but I've never seen anybody get 3 in one setting before. So the committee presented one. That's presented on behalf of Governor Beshear. And then on behalf of the Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs, there's a third challenge coin that we hope you treasure. And I know that we'll all treasure the memories of sitting and listening and being a small part of what you shared with us today. So thank you so much for your service.
I tell you what, I've got a little glass frame that's hung on and there's enough space in there for these.
Well, we're glad that there's enough space, and here's a personal card on behalf of the commissioner that I'll lay there, and then you can open that up later. It's an honor and a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank
Appreciate
you very
it.
much.
Take care of yourself.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
It's
you
been an
so
honor
much.
to
And I
have
think
my
Senator
constituent-
Kerr did you have something you wanted to mention?
Mr. Robertson, I know you've had thousands and thousands and thousands of students. I was there at Western Kentucky University in the early 70s. In the early 70s. I used to be Alice Lynn Forgy. I was Miss Western for a year, but not forever. I went to the Mountain Laurel Festival as Miss Western Kentucky University, and that was really fun, and got my undergraduate and master's there. And I
You
worked,
say your last name was Forgy?
yes, sir.
That sounds like a Butler County name.
Yes, we were originally from Butler County and then moved on to Logan County. And I worked for Mr. Roy Reynolds and Mr. David Mefford and gave lots of campus tours of Western. And of course, you were always one of the icons we had to hit as we went on the tours of Western. We stopped by to see you. So I don't have a challenge coin for you today, but I'm going to do something else as a matter of personal privilege, and anybody else that went to Western, and you can join me. And we're going to sing the Western fight song. You ready?
All right, do we have others?
Stand up and cheer for dear old Western. For today we race the red and white above the rest. Rah, rah, rah. Our team is fighting, and they are going to win this game. We've got the team, we've got the steam, and this is dear old Western's day. Hey!
Hey. Thank you.
Wow, this committee's full of surprises.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here, sir. I should have just dedicated the whole 2 hours for you, because I'm sure it would have captivated everyone. But we appreciate you coming up and appreciate all your service. And you be careful heading back and everything. So
Thank you very much. I'm humbled by it, but I appreciate it.
yes, sir. Alrighty, and we're going to go ahead and start some business. We're going to go ahead and hear from Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs. So General Bullard and Colonel Kratzer and Dr. Sun. We got everyone titles in their own names there. If y'all would come take the table. And I'm sure there's many that want to still greet them. So if so, we'll let y'all get started. If they want, if Mr. Robertson wants to start working his way out a little bit, and there we go.
What a wonderfully hard act to follow.
You're
that. Well, I'm Brigadier General retired Steve Bullard, Executive Director.
Pull that mic a little bit closer to you. So.
I'm Brigadier General Steve Bullard.
Is it on?
It shows green. Oh, there we are.
There we go.
I'm colorblind, so anyway. I'm Brigadier General retired Steve Bullard, Executive Director, Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs, and I'll let my guests introduce themselves.
My name is Jeff Sun. I'm a professor of higher education at the University of Louisville.
And I'm Dallas Kratzer. I'm the grant manager for the cybersecurity grant C4. Thank you.
And I will very quickly we're going to go over three things. First, I'm going to talk about the history of our grant program, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Sun and Dr. Kratzer to talk about our grant program. If we have a minute, I'll tell you what our legislative priorities are for next session, but we won't brief those till the fall. So first off, we're here as a success story because of you, the Kentucky General Assembly, because you've driven this process, and you have your aviation caucus. You've had a lot of interest over the years in aviation and other areas. And what that did was Rocky Atkins actually came down to one of my predecessors, Dave Thompson, and said, do something. We need to know more about the aviation industry. So Dave locked himself at his office for 2 days and then came out and met with Stacy, and together they crafted what became a $1.2 million grant through what was then the Office of Economic Adjustment with the Department of Defense. Now they're the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, OLDCC. So we got a $1.2 million grant in July 2015 to study the military impact in Kentucky, the aerospace industry, cybersecurity needs in Kentucky, and unmanned aerial systems. And out of that, we've rolled into a Phase 2 grant with DOD for $1.7 million in January of 2018. And when we close out these grants, it takes a couple of months to close them out and then some time to develop a new one. And in this, we created an aviation defense study that wound up with the Kentucky Aerospace Industry Consortium under Kcma and the Kentucky Science and Technology Center. And under this has become a success story for us. And yesterday, we met with the Kentucky Association of Manufacturers. They now own the Kentucky Aerospace Industry Consortium, and we had our first meeting, and we're going to roll forward with that very aggressively. So that's a success story. And then from that, we went into Phase 3, which is our current $2.5 million grant with the University of Louisville. And we started that in February 2020, and I'm going to roll it over to Dr. Sun and Dr. Kratzer at this point.
Well, thank you, Steve, for passing that on. I've had the great privilege to work with the program and Kcma and cooperation with the University of Louisville to develop what we call C4 project, and that's the Cybersecurity Certifications, Careers, and Communities. Dr. Sun is the originator of that title, and it has fit very well because it's allowed us to move cybersecurity to the forefront of many of our people here in the Commonwealth to see the need for cybersecurity and to qualify individuals for cybersecurity. And we're going to talk more in just a few minutes about how we will move forward from there. But before we do that, I'd like to also recognize not only Dr. Sun, but his project manager, Thomas Krupp, who is a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. They've done a fantastic job in positioning us to continue this program. So Dr. Sun, I'm going to let you talk to the program itself.
Great. Chairman Walker and members of the committee, thank you for inviting me here today. So this project, C4, has been exciting for all of us because it's hitting on things that we all know about that are hitting all of us today. Think about your home computers, your smart TVs, and your cell phones. All of them are subject to cybersecurity attacks. And you may not have faced it yet because we've had some good people on the other side who have been helping you. But they're everyday products that are actually getting attacked today. So think about also our TVs, our refrigerators, our thermostats, and our cars. They're all subject actually now to attacks. So what we tried to do here is we tried to inform individuals and try to train individuals. We also know that businesses are at stake here in the Commonwealth as well. Think about our businesses and their tills, and then their also their ordering systems, and also other things that their bank accounts. We thought to ourselves, how do we do this by working with veterans or active duty service members to help DoD in addressing some of the cyber attacks that are going on? We know from that veterans and active duty service members tend to be ethical and committed to service. We know that they actually have leadership skills that are beyond many other individuals. We also know that there's levels of persistence. And we also know that they've learned things about frameworks and other things that we just, as project managers and leaders, just don't even think about all the time, and they think of it in a much more systematic way. So that's why we wanted to work with individuals who are military affiliated. Go to the next slide. There we go. All right. So what do we do with the C4 project? We've done several things. One of them is we just created certification workshops. Now these were industry recognized certification workshops. Some of them now we didn't just deliver just the certification workshops. We also delivered things by talking to employers and finding out what do employers need in this region. And one of the things they said was obviously soft skills, right? Everybody knows that. But it was more than soft skills. We found out actually what they wanted was they wanted better communication skills. And so what does that really mean? That meant actually being able to talk to us about really what cyber issues were. Like what is an FTP? What's HTTPS? Like what does all this stuff mean? And so that we had to translate. In addition to that, what we learned was we need better project managers. And that the veterans and service members are actually better trained in project management. So we created all these areas, these workshops. We also created a cyber range for their experience. We also hosted a card hacks for those in our community, including some JROTC folks who participated. We had a total of 217 completers who were veterans or active duty service members, and 157 card hacks participants as well. So what we did from there is our goal here is to make sure that they're fluent in everything in areas of cyber, and actually they're practicing some of this stuff, even at home, and actually influencing their family members, which we've noticed that they were doing that, and to their coworkers. We've established an advisory board as well, and we're developing partnerships with our defense industry base. This comes with a team. This came with a whole team of all of us to actually do this. So what we have here is two takeaways from our experience. One is the shared experiences working with great offices like with Kcma. Two state agencies, the University of Louisville and Kcma, working together to help create something more powerful for our Commonwealth. Number two is that it's recognizing the impact of relying and integrating veterans and service members into our work. They make a huge impact in how we have outcomes, and clearly what we're seeing is outcomes in the cybersecurity force. Now I'm going to give you 2 tips about cybersecurity so that all of us should be considering. Number 1 is, and I'm going to restate the obvious, let's change our passwords. We have to change them actually every quarter or so. And in fact, we should probably not use words. We probably should use actually symbols and numbers and other types of things to help us change some of these things. Number 2, did you ever notice on a website what HTTPS stands for versus HTTP? It's giving you a level of security that you probably don't have. So look for the HTTPS. That's good. So those are my 2 tips for today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sun. He also talked about the Workforce Initiative. This grant focused on training service members who are transitioning out of the military, veterans, and their spouses to get cybersecurity qualifications. Along with those trainings, we had a Workforce Initiative, and that allowed us to capitalize on getting them employed. Employers understood that we were bringing veterans to their workforce, and in that, we've engaged higher education on a number of fronts because it is about certifications and it is about education. That has allowed us to then partner with a program called Skillbridge. Skillbridge is a very unique DoD-funded program that will allow our service members who are transitioning out to work in a job as an intern for up to 6 months in their last 6 months of active duty. That allows us to get them to culturated into the local community and the opportunity. And with that, and the opportunity to introduce Skillbridge, the KWIB has engaged this and reinvigorated their military subcommittee to see how we might be able to use Skillbridge, not only in the cybersecurity arena, but also in the workforce in general. And we've had some great successes. You'll hear more about those in the coming future, but one of them, military to law enforcement, M2LE. We have found how we can use cybersecurity to bring more military-connected folks to our law enforcement police departments across the Commonwealth. And you'll hear more soon out in the press about this because it's a great opportunity to fill those needs that we have here in the Commonwealth in the police departments with military members, veterans. And it even goes as far as to spouses in the fact that they are able to get into other jobs and working areas. We are looking to see how we might be able to expand even further. Executive Director Bullard and I have met with the CVG aircraft maintenance organizations, a couple of them, to talk about how they can bring service members into aviation management in the Commonwealth. We've talked with the trade skills. We have a EMT program that's been launched off of the M2LE where Murray University is allowing them to get trained as an EMT, and Hopkinsville Fire Department was one of our very first ones to take on an EMT. He's in the process right now, and they're getting ready to look at their second. We have the Frankfort Fire Department and the Covington Fire Department also looking at how can they bring service members into an EMT program. So great opportunities there. I would like to wrap up with one last comment. Where do we go from here? What is next? Well, at KCMA, what we're doing is we're looking at how we need to continue what we're doing as far as community. And one of the biggest challenges that we have seen, Dr. Sun and I have talked about this extensively, is the preparedness for our defense industry-related employers in the Commonwealth to be prepared to do business with the DoD. There's a program out there called the CMMC, which is the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Continuum. This is on the horizon. The DoD is still working on it, but there will be requirements if you're going to work with the DoD within this model, and if you do not or are not familiar with the process, you won't be able to do business with the DoD. Dr. Sun and I have seen that this is something that is not well advertised. We want to put Kentucky ahead of everyone else by developing a framework and an informational system to allow our defense-related businesses to be prepared for when CMMC comes on board next year. So that's our next stage. We're looking at launching it sometime in October. Hopefully in the fall we'll have more updates on that, and that we will be able to give you more information on whether or not we've picked up the grant from OLDCC to help us build this structure. So we're continuing to think forward. Where can we go to next in preparing our communities to better serve our defense industry? And with that, sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
And C4 will continue. So that's proprietary to the University of Louisville now, just like the Aerospace Council that we turned over to the Kentucky Association of Manufacturers. U of L owns this process now and will continue working down this road to expand this project and continue offering it. So that's a huge success story for us. And we are working with Department of Defense. CMMC is not quite ready yet, and so we're a little delayed in getting to where we want to go. But we're hoping over the next few months we'll have a viable program and a grant that award to move forward with that. And then the very last thing I'll do very quickly, we'll brief it in detail in October and November timeframe, is our legislative agenda for KCMA. First off, the Department of Defense has 8 priority occupational licensing initiatives, and Kentucky's a member of 7 of those 8 because of the Kentucky General Assembly. You passed Licensed Professional Counseling Compact, Occupational Therapy Compact this past session. The only one we're not a member of is the Emergency Medical Services Compact, and it got a little complicated toward the end, but Mark Hart has done a fabulous job with that. We are ready to roll for next session on that one. And there should be a 9th shortly, which is a National Teachers Compact. It's under final assessment at the Council of State Government. Senator Wilson has asked to sponsor that legislation. He is a member of the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission Board here in Kentucky. So we're really excited about those opportunities. Also, we looked at with Representative Nancy Tate, the Army has requested we do a real estate disclosure notification for proximity to military installations, and it was too general. The bill she filed was late, and we didn't really get a chance to vet it properly. We've been working closely with the Real Estate Commission, and when you say major military installation, well, you're talking obviously Fort Campbell, Fort Knox, but armories? Should they really matter? Military entrance processing centers, National Guard training sites. So working with the Real Estate Commission, we've determined this is noise related, and there's only 2 noise producers, Fort Knox and Fort Campbell. So we're going to take that legislation and narrow it down to only apply to Fort Knox and Fort Campbell. And that should make it acceptable to everybody, we hope. So, and we're working the details. And then the Kentucky Emergency Response Commission, of which I'm a member, needs to update their membership. That's a legislatively directed membership, and it's outdated. So we got busy last year with emergencies in December, January, that kind of prevented us from doing that. And Senator Smith is a good friend with Brian Julian on that committee. He may take that one for us. And then lastly, we have a huge success story in Kentucky called the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. It's all 50 states are part of it. I'm their National Compliance Committee chairman on their national board. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, it's only applied to the active duty military to this point. We in Kentucky actually extended it to DoD civilians because of the Army's human resource management emphasis at Fort Knox. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs has asked us to include the Guard and Reserve. There are times when it does apply to them. We can do that by just amending that sentence that adds DoD employees to add the National Guard and Reserve at no cost. Because we take care of them anyway, and it's incredibly rare. So I'm going to look at making that happen, and we're looking at doing that on a state-by-state basis around the country, and I'm taking a lead on that. And then lastly, BRAC. Our purpose, KCMA, is to be the BRAC watchdog for Kentucky. We believe very strongly that BRAC is going to happen again at some point. We don't believe it's imminent, but we believe it will, and Kentucky is beautifully positioned because of the actions of this state over the years. Fort Knox and Fort Campbell are in outstanding shape as just rocks of the Army community. Kentucky, by the way, is 94% Army. We believe a BRAC, should it occur, is an opportunity for Kentucky because of the expandability and the ability of Fort Knox and Fort Campbell to absorb missions that get lost elsewhere. They're not at risk. Everything that we're hearing and seeing, they're not at risk. And we think Bluegrass Stations should not be at risk as a National Guard project. Bluegrass Army Depot is actually essential logistics to all the military installations east of the Mississippi River. We don't believe they're at risk. The chemical mission there that will be coming to a close in December 2023 is only 5% of what they do there. It's a very small part and doesn't affect their long-term viability. So we think we're in great shape for that. We continue to monitor because they do a mini BRAC every year through the National Defense Authorization Act and the Defense Authorization Act, but we're in great shape for that. So pending any questions, that's our presentation today.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and we really appreciate it. Do we have any questions from any of the members or so? You either explained everything well or you told them that you're going to explain it in more depth in October, November. But we'll take either, and we appreciate you working on some of these topics. And Dr. Sun and Colonel Cratcher, always great to see y'all, and we appreciate y'all being here. And I guess no questions, so y'all did a great presentation. We will go ahead and bring up the next guest. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
right. Got another doctor in the house here. Dr. McFadden and Director Kent, Barbara Kent. We saw each other as we walked in, so glad both of y'all are here. And just make sure those green lights are on, and the floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. I promise I will not lead us in the EKU fight song this morning, so we won't do that. I did miss my chance to get my picture with Mr. Western. That would have been good for the EKU president, but I'll get a chance to get in and see him in Bowling Green. It is great to be with this committee this morning. We are proud to kind of wrap up the meeting this morning with Kentucky's #1 veterans post-secondary institution, an institution that has been intentional in investing in our veteran communities. As we are now serving over 1,500 veterans and veteran family members at EKU, we have been very intentional in our investment in trying to serve those individuals who serve our country and make it the greatest place in the world. As we think about the work that we're doing on campus, let me back that up one there. I do want to talk about some of the accolades, and I want to give Barbara Kent so much credit here. She is a veteran. She is not just an advocate, but she is a warrior for our veterans and our veteran community members, and it is shown in our national rankings as we are ranked #1 in Kentucky for military-friendly schools. We are #3 in the nation for military-friendly institutions. We are the only Kentucky university to receive both top 10 and spouse school designations. And as we look at the top 21 Military Times Best for Vets colleges, we're #1 in Kentucky and #1 in the Appalachian region. And we take a lot of pride in that. And as you talk to our students on campus, what you'll hear is that they feel like they are a priority, that we have built a community for them, a community where they feel like that they can aspire to achieve their hopes and dreams. And not only do we support them as they are students, but we celebrate them and support them as they are alums, and they continue to really grow in what they want to achieve in life. And so I'm going to let Ms. Kent talk a bit about programmatically some of the things that we're doing, but I will say this, all of our post-secondary institutions in Kentucky are working hard to serve our veteran community. Kentucky is a very veteran-focused state, and we are excited about those opportunities to serve those service members and their family members who choose Kentucky as the place that they want to live, work, and raise their family. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kent.
Thank you, President McFadden, and thank you, Representative Thomas, for having me here today. I want to give a shout out to my friend, EKU OMVA supporter, Representative Bill Wesley. Nice to see you here today, and also want to thank all of the veterans on the committee for their service and for all the members of the committee for their service to the Commonwealth. And now I get to talk about my favorite thing, as President McFadden knows, which is EKU vets. And while I'm proud of the distinction of being military friendly, we're not military friendly. We are vets ready. That is our brand. And we feel that that is more intentional in describing the quality and scope of the services that we provide to our students. And so I'm excited to have the opportunity to give you a brief overview. And there are 4 essential components that we believe make our institution distinctive and make us vets ready. And I'm going to touch on each of those. Top-down support and research resources, pathways to degree completion, our campus and community partnerships, and our programs and our faculty. First off, top-down support and resources. And quite frankly, this is probably the most critical component of being a vets-ready institution and our success. Back in 2019, when our Powell Student Center was undergoing renovations, President McFadden called me in and said, we're going to get you out of Burnham House. Burnham House is a 1920s house located about a mile off campus that OMVA had been housed in. And while it was quite quaint, it was not conducive to engaging with students, and particularly with veterans. So we were very excited in spring of 2020, during the pandemic, to move into our beautiful office space right in the heart of campus, Powell Student Center. And not only that, adjacent to that, we have a beautiful 1,500 square foot vet center, which is dedicated space for our veteran students. where they can study, socialize, have use of computers, printers, a fully stocked hospitality station, engage with their peers, receive services from us. And as we know, the more that we can engage with our students, the likelier we are to be able to be proactive in addressing any barriers to their academic goals. And again, everything we do is guided towards their successful transition, retention, graduation, and post-graduation success. So we've moved into PAL. We've got the space that is so important. As well, when we talk about the resources that EKU is committed to this population, we have 4 dedicated staff members, professional staff members that serve this population, in addition to having a resident VA Vet Success on Campus counselor. We're one of about 120 schools in the nation to have that. That enables us to be a one-stop shop for our veteran and military students, which means from pre-admission to admission to beyond, we are their source. And that's the front end of it. The back end of it is the collaboration we have with other units on campus. Again, for the veterans, to keep the troops happy, you got to house them, clothe them, feed them, get their mail, and pay them. And that was sort of the concept behind this, is that they would come to us. And if we needed to make referrals, we would. But in addition to that, with our staff, we also process federal and state entitlement. We process joint services transcripts. We provide advising. Basically, we will always be their first point of contact. And in fact, it's not unusual for us to get calls during the day from folks who think that we're actually the VA, because they Google Kentucky and veterans, and EKU Vets pops up. So, and we make referrals to them for them as well. Again, another example is our reduced active duty rate and our reduced active duty spouse rate that we launched in this spring. We make education affordable. And we also recognize and we promote the message that families serve too. And so, we are trying to provide resources for these students, particularly those who are using federal tuition assistance, to match what they're receiving from the government, so that they don't have out-of-pocket expenses with regard to tuition. And I was especially pleased with the reduced spouse rate, because, as many of us know, particularly those who have served, oftentimes the spouse is the head of the household, a single parent, while the service member is deployed or training. And so we were very, very pleased to have been supported with that rate by President McFadden in the cabinet. Military-specific scholarships. It's kind of some assume that every veteran or military person they all have GI Bill benefit. That's not necessarily the case. They may have exhausted them. They may not have them. And so, again, just like other college students, particularly in our service region, they may struggle financially. So we try to provide those resources so that they can continue on with their educational goals. And then we have a very robust student life programming and events that's direct, with our new space. Our veterans and military students, they bring a lot of life experience, leadership skills, but yet they also crave they crave a college experience. So both by being in the center of campus and having our great space, we can provide those cultural enrichment events, while at the same time they have access to all the variety of other programming that we offer all of our students. So it becomes more than just a transactional relationship, that they're also getting that added layer of a college experience. So now, pathways to degree completion, and this is something that I think I'm most proud of what we've accomplished over the past couple years. EKU has always had a policy of awarding maximum credit hours based upon American Council on Education recommendations and Joint Services transcript. So a couple years ago, we started thinking, wait a minute, why don't we prospectively evaluate current Army initial trainings? And I went with the Army because, of course, I'm Army. I'm an Army vet, because we have Fort Knox and Fort Campbell. So we had 3 phases. We identified over 150 current Army trainings. The next phase was we packaged it in a way, we put it together in a way to take it to our faculty evaluators so that they could make informed decisions. And we didn't just say, these are ACE recommendations for credit equivalencies, give us that. This is not about giving credit, it's about recognizing military training and experience, because you can't really, I think the most fundamental way that you value veterans is that you recognize their military training and experience, and you create those pathways to degree completion. And so we worked with faculty, we educated them about the ACE recommendations, how they came about. We educated them about ASFAB scores, AFQT scores, what the trainings entailed, the ACE course exhibits with learning outcomes, related competencies, learning methods, etc. And we spent 6 months doing that. And then the final phase was to take these equivalencies and build our Vets Ready Opportunity Portal, which is a public portal that any service member anywhere in the world can enter their branch, their rank, their job when they trained, and they can receive a report of what equivalencies they will be awarded. And this is dynamic, it's living, it's continually changing, we're adding to it. But this allows them, and not only to see what credits they will receive, but if there are trainings that align with particular degree programs, like a 68 Whiskey, which is a healthcare specialist, then they have a landing page to our BS in emergency medical care, a 25 uniform, cyber system security, etc. And if you go to our webpage, va.eku.edu, and click on this link to this portal, you will see how easy it is to navigate it. And I feel confident in saying few, if any, schools in the nation are taking transfer credit to the level that EKU is. And just to give you an example, these are just a handful of some of the occupations and the credits that that veterans and service members will receive. And again, we keep adding to it. But you see Army 25 Bravo, 44 credits. And what we are seeing is, particularly with the Kentucky National Guard, we're having young people who are entering the military, Kentucky National Guard, and selecting specific occupations and coming to EKU because they're entering the military as a way to fund their education, and they're also being selective about their occupations because, again, it is creating pathways. And when you get these kind of students, they're already calibrated towards success. And so that is what we have 10 students who actually came from out of state, one as far away as California, to join the National Guard go to training, and attend EKU. So this has probably been one of our most, and will be one of our most effective recruiting tools. And we would like to see more Kentucky institutions get on board with this. We're working with KCTCS, BCTC on military transfer credit. So, and this is a more recent, this is just another example, and I wanted to highlight this because of the nursing shortage and our School of Nursing working with us, recognizing the skills and the training that this is for an Army 68 Charlie practical nurse. We have one coming in the fall. And as you can see, for veterans who have this training, they can complete the Associate of Applied Nursing in as little as 3 semesters, the RN to BSN in as few as 12 months. And so this is the type of change that we're looking to make, particularly as that has become a hot topic, is prior learning assessment and particularly military training and experience. And we like to feel that we are trailblazers in this area as well. So another essential component is creating a culture of community, and this is what I think sets us, EKU, apart and makes us vets ready. One is, we want to kind of recreate that sense of community that we had while serving. I think we're one of a few, if any, schools that we conduct military cultural awareness training on a recurring basis. And this even connects back to our top-down support in that this is required for all new employees, faculty, and staff. And I'm also pleased to say that President McFadden and his cabinet were one of the first groups to be trained a couple years ago. And to date, we've trained over 500 EKU faculty and staff, and we've been invited to provide this training to other organizations as well. And the big takeaways from that is just to talk about where our students are, what our offices do, what we do for these students, the resources that we have, but more importantly, the fact that we are a resource for our faculty and staff. And so again, that goes back to those wraparound services that we provide to our veteran and military students so that we can be proactive in addressing any barriers to their academic goals. That goes without saying, our partnerships with our campus units, our departments. Again, we don't operate in silos when it comes to our veteran and military students. So there is a huge groundswell of support for these students. Cross-agency collaboration. I'd like to mention that one person that was also instrumental in getting our portal built is Dr. Kratzer. He is an ACE faculty evaluator, and he attended meetings, and he could talk faculty to faculty, and he was instrumental as well in helping to inform the faculty so they had what they need to make their decisions. We are working right now under that same kind of framework. A lot of our students, and I think a lot of veterans will say there's a lot of resources out there, but I don't know where to begin. And so we're using this same kind of concept to create a centralized referral system where, based on particularly for our service region, where they can enter the county or sit in and come up with a list of current organizations and referrals depending on what their needs might be. But again, this goes back to just creating this community to support the veterans and their families. And so, General Bullard, KCMA, KDVA, Kentucky River Foothills. We've worked very closely together over the past 3 years on behalf of our veteran and our military students. So, and this goes without saying. It wouldn't matter whether we had centralized locations, if we had 50,000 square feet or $500,000. Without the programs and the faculty, it doesn't matter. And so this is certainly not inclusive. We have veteran students in all of our programs, but these are some of the more popular programs that our veteran and military students are seeking. And we can offer these both in residence and online. Many of our veteran students, they're going to be non-traditional students. They might be working, they might be caretakers. And so we can offer both the flexibility of either residence or online, and as you can, and they will also naturally gravitate towards some of the degree programs that align with their military training and experience. And so just to give you a peek, and I like to show this slide because, as you can see, we talk about veteran students, or institutions will talk about their veteran population. We actually have 5 subpopulations, and that includes, of course, our veterans, our military dependents, which tend to be children, our reserve guard, who are actively serving, our active duty, who are serving full-time, and military spouses. And so this enrollment from fall not only represents, I think, about 12% of our overall student population, but as you can see, that the largest population are actually military dependents. And what's interesting is, and to bear this in mind, is that for fall 2021, dependents using they're using GI Bill that the veteran has transferred to them represented almost 40% of our students on GI Bill entitlement. So we are ahead of the game in understanding the exact populations that are using entitlement. And there is a trend of more and more children and spouses, mainly children, using actual GI Bill that the parents have transferred to them, and they are seeking programs like ours that provide the level of services that to serve these students for the benefits that they've sacrificed and worked so hard for. Despite our veteran students utilizing Chapter 31, vocational rehab is our highest since 2016. In fall 2021, we had a 15% increase in the number of dependents utilizing Chapter 35, which is dependent educational assistance. Despite the Army transferring to a new platform for federal TA, we saw a 16% increase in the number of active duty service members utilizing federal TA. And as of now, our veteran and military fall enrollment is up 10% from where it was last year. But another point I want to make with this is that all these different populations, they're very diverse. And again, what our office is focused on, and I think where we excel, is that we are constantly evaluating our policies and our programs to meet the needs of each of these distinctive populations. And so this slide is from spring graduation. I love to show this slide because I know Walt Disney World is supposed to be the happiest place on earth. But for us, the Thursday before commencement, our veterans graduation ceremony is the happiest day for us. It's joyful. It's a celebration. If you look in front, the blue stoles, that's actually our national co-ed fraternity, Omega Delta Sigma. You see President McFadden in the back. He, as part of the ceremony, he cords each of the graduates with their veteran cord. We also present them with our challenge coin, which has our logo on it. I should have given this to Mr. Robertson. I may have to do that. I hope he'll have room for it with all the coins he has. But again, this is why we go to work every day. This is why we do all the things that we do. And we were especially pleased that this year we included our spouses and children in our ceremony as well. But as you can see from the GPAs, these are high-performing students. These are their graduating GPAs. So aside from the fact that they bring so much to campus, these are great students. And we want to have more of them. And we are seeing an increase in our veteran and military student population. So I'll wrap up here. And this was just timely if you look on the date. Look at the date, June 10th, 2022. This was an op-ed from CPA president and EKU alum, Dr. Aaron Thompson, and it caught my eye. Now's the time for innovation in higher education, and talking about trying to get to 60% by 2030 and creating equitable education opportunities for Kentucky's low-income students and underrepresented minorities. And it struck me because that very same day, we submitted a grant application to the Department of Education to establish a Veterans Upward Bound program with EKU as the host institution. And it is part of the federal TRIO program family, and it prepares eligible first-generation low-income veterans to enter post-secondary education by addressing any academic, social, or emotional needs at no cost to the veteran. I've been working on the grant with a lot of help from colleagues on campus for a year and a half. And I still had my day job to do, but that's the way we do things at EKU. Again, that support from the university. This is really timely because particularly for our service region, not only we have some of the most impoverished counties, even within Appalachia, are in our service region. And that, when we think about that, and we also think about how broadband is coming into these areas, this is very timely, because what we want to do is we want to provide veterans in our areas with the education, certificates, skills to be able to take advantage of this, to enter the digital workforce, and to be able to contribute to their communities and their families for generations to come. Again, I would just close by saying we're very confident that we're going to get this grant. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to find out. And I would just like to say that I'm very proud to be a part of EKU, something that I think is something that is bigger than myself. And I'm very proud to be a part of this guy's army. And right now, I will turn it back over to President McFadden. And thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Barbara. As you see, a lot of passion, a lot of innovation, great execution on this team's part. There's a lot of things that we're doing to serve our veterans and veteran family members, not only here in Kentucky, but really across the globe. So, Mr. Chair, we would entertain any questions that the committee might have, and we want to thank you for your service and your support. So,
all right. Hold on one sec. General Bullard, do you want to come back and make sure you hit that green mic? He just wanted to inject something here at the end.
I just want to stress, I think it's quite clear that Barbara Kent has become an incredible Kentucky treasure for what she's doing in leadership in the veterans community and the education community. So you have an exceptional talent here, and President McFadden has done a wonderful job with this. And I just want to foot stomp that. That's recognized, throughout the veterans community here. And we're very glad to see you get a chance to experience it firsthand. Thanks, Barbara.
We appreciate that. We do have a question, Senator Meredith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for an excellent presentation, and congratulations on the vision you have for this. This is incredible. Just curious, so one of your slides, you've got approximately 1,500 students under this program, and how do you envision that growing over the coming years? Do you have a target number? I guess you want as large as you want, but do you have a target number you're looking for?
We talked about 2,000 within 5 years, so we're 3 years into it. Understanding that because of our exceptional online presence, that our market is global, and because of the pandemic, we have not been able to go to military installation fairs or areas like that. So we're just, again, getting back into it, and particularly as as the Vets Ready portal emerges, we are seeing an uptick, particularly in active duty, reserve guard, spouse, and military dependents.
Well, that leads to my second question, Mr. Chair, if I could. Great resource. How do you market this?
How do we market I will tell you, I don't have my phone with me, but geofencing, because the phone is what this demographic, everyone is on. I mean, the average age of our active duty student is 31. Reserve Guard is 24. Veterans are 36. So our strategy will be largely based upon geofencing. And again, for veterans will understand, military units can be small. So when someone's buddy has a great experience at EKU, whether they're here or in Korea or Hawaii, word travels fast. And so we're also seeing an uptick from military bases themselves.
I give Barbara and her team a lot of credit, Senator Meredith. They are obviously we're using a lot of digital marketing to target those potential students, but prior to the pandemic, they're on those bases. We are actively recruiting there. We have a presence. The community of folks across really the nation who have seen us commit to credit for prior learning, something that I don't think anyone is leading in that space like we are. I think we're going to draw a lot of students who are going to say, hey, they're recognizing my service. That service is going to get my time to degree significantly faster, and I can do that on campus or online. But we are anticipating, we've had double-digit growth. We expect that to continue, if not really accelerate quickly as we're able to get back on the bases and have more face-to-face interaction with potential students.
Yes, I would think your projection of 2,000 students is ultra-conservative, and I wonder what additional resources you'll need once you meet that goal and exceed that goal, which I think that you will. Is a great resource throughout the world for military people.
In combination with that, our cadre of ROTC at EKU continues to grow as well, and the partnership between OMVA and the Army in that work is exceptional as well. And on that same Thursday, we do that commissioning ceremony, so it's a great day for me to be a part of that, to see the second lieutenants be commissioned into the U.S. military, and then be able to celebrate those individuals who have served and are finishing that degree. So it's a great day by all means.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for a great presentation this morning. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Representative Wesley.
Yes, I just have a comment, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank the president for the phenomenal job that he's doing in Eastern Kentucky and on the campus. If you've ever had the pleasure of or the time to visit EKU, on the center of their campus, they have the Veterans Memorial. And I believe that's the center focus of their college. And that's where all the students hang out, and it's an amazing place. But not only that, but what Mr. McFadden has is Barbara Kent, and being at one of their graduations, myself and General Bullard, we have witnessed the age group is not just the young people that we see today graduating, but they're in the ages of 40, 50, and 60 years old, walking across that floor, grabbing that diploma. That makes a big difference. And I'd like to add and close with this. Barbara is not just a person that recruits people to encourage them to go to college and further a career, but she is either a sister or a mother that truly cares for the veterans and military. And so I would just like to thank her for what she does and for the leadership of both of them, what they have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and looks like Representative Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple of questions and a comment. What can we do as a General Assembly to help you help veterans?
Barbara does it every day. I'm going to let her take a crack at that one first.
Well, one, I think that, remember, I always say they're the thoroughbred and I'm the Clydesdale. I kind of just get stuff done. So, but I do think that I would like to see programs like ours where the leadership is investing in the resources for this population to be recognized for that. These are high-performing students. That is one way, I think, to recognize where universities like EKU is intentionally allocating resources to serve these students, because none of this would happen without the staff that we have, without the resources. I think in another way, I think really just I would invite everyone to come to campus and visit our space. I know I do this every day, but I think probably President McFadden is in a better position to address this.
I think from a resource standpoint, we've seen other institutions who are replicating some of the things that we're doing. The University of Louisville has had a strategic investment from the state to start a veterans center. I do think that as we continue to see that growth, that there will be some facility needs to kind of expand as we're serving so many veterans and veteran community members on campus. Any university president's going to have a list of projects and things that we're going to work on. But I also think that recognizing this population strategically for the state through how we fund higher education, the performance funding model, I think there could be some premiums for serving veterans and veteran family members through that model. So I think there's some conversations there about how we use this veteran community as an economic development opportunity to bring individuals into our state to be a part of the great things that we're doing here. And so that's one of the reasons that we do what we do. And we serve a lot of Kentuckians, sure, but we're also creating a lot of Kentuckians by recruiting individuals from all across the globe to come and be a part of the institution.
Well, I think that's one of the things this committee we all agree upon is we're trying to draw more veterans, either retirees or prior service folks, to the Commonwealth, the better to Commonwealth. And that's one of the questions. If you guys in the future come up with something that we can address, that by all means bring it. Second, I really like this portal. I was just on it looking at it, and I was checking my MOS, which isn't on there, but I hit my secondary MOS, and it looks like it's pretty thorough. I like it a lot. The other question I got is the difference between the American Military University and the ACES program. Do you guys interact with those service-specific universities?
We do not. We generally deal specifically with the American Council on Education and their recommendations that are contained on the Joint Services transcript for a service member. And we utilize the ACE course exhibits and occupation exhibits in our evaluation process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have another question by Senator Kerr.
I just want to congratulate you on this program and Dr. McFadden. And at this time, I'd like to stand and do the Eastern fight song. Just teasing.
Now, I promised that you were out of the room, but I promised them we wouldn't do that, but we appreciate it. Miss Western.
All right. Well, thank y'all for being here. I don't see any other questions. We really appreciate y'all coming over. And I was fortunate, I think about 6 months, a year ago, I lose track of times to come over, and y'all were very accommodating and beautiful campus there too. So thank y'all for having me. All right. Well, thank you. Members, please take note. We do have a administrative regulations. If y'all have had a chance, it's been in your packet for a little bit and also sent to you a couple weeks ago. Does anyone have any questions or anything on that? All right. So, all right, we're good with that. Let's see, and the next meeting, if y'all would take note, is July 20th at 10 o'clock, probably in the same room, 154, in the same room. So please take note, and with God willing, hopefully CB Embry will be there conducting it. But if there's no other business, we will stand adjourned.